What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and today we're going to be looking through a surprise update that we just got for Warhammer 40k. We've been expecting an update that bug fixes some of the problems that players have noticed with the new Grotsmas detachments, and we got that alongside a big change to the Astra Militarum Codex, a Day 1 errata for that. So now let's dive in and talk about all these changes to the game. Now we're going to do this faction by faction. Several factions got different changes in different sections, including index or codex update documents, changes to their Grotsmas detachment, or changes with the Mutatorum field manual, and I'm going to encapsulate all of those for each faction. Starting with Chaos Demons. Chaos Demons got a huge change to their Demonic Incursion detachment. This detachment allows you to 6-inch deep strike as long as you are 6 inches away from enemies. This update also includes a clarification that a Greater Demon that projects a 6-inch Shadow of Chaos aura, the units can 6-inch deep strike as long as they're wholly within it, cannot 6-inch deep strike by itself because it's not projecting its aura when it's not yet on the battlefield. Once it's on the battlefield, however, it's going to be able to create that area of Shadow of Chaos and allow other units in your army to 6-inch deep strike away from enemies and then charge. However, we do now have a way to deep strike 6 inches away and charge immediately, because the data slate has changed the Denizens of the Warp stratagem within Demonic Incursion to allow you to charge after you use it. This stratagem allows you to 6-inch deep strike anywhere on the table, regardless of your Shadow of Chaos. So while previously you could use this to set up otherwise impossible 6-inch charges with other units, now you can just do it yourself. You can, for example, 6-inch deep strike using the stratagem, a Greater Demon like Be'lakor, who can drop in 6 inches away from enemies, and then bring other demons along with him 6 inches away from enemies as long as they're wholly within 6 inches of him because of his Shadow of Chaos effect. You can then charge with those other units on a 6-inch charge, and because of the stratagem, now also charge with Be'lakor. This is huge and definitely brings Demonic Incursion up to a similar power level to the Grotsmas detachments that the faction just received. Dark Angels got some big changes to their Raven Wing and their detachment Company of Hunters. Previously in the December update, this detachment gains the ability to allow mounted units in your army to advance or fall back. However, that invalidated one of the enhancements inside the detachment. They tried to update that enhancement to, instead of giving you advance and fall back and charge, to instead reroll your advance and charge rolls, although they messed it up and they instead gave that to the Master of Maneuver enhancement, which had a different effect, which I believe allowed you to strategic reserve earlier than normal, which meant that in addition to removing that enhancement from the detachment, it also then left you with a totally useless enhancement because you could attach it to a unit that could already advance and charge, which then gave you the ability to advance and charge. That has been corrected. Mounted Strategist now gives you the reroll advance and charge rolls, and Master of Maneuver has been changed to its original version. In addition, all of the Raven Wing close combat weapons have been unified. Previously, Black Knight close combat weapons gained devastating wounds in the December update. However, other instances of Black Knight close combat weapons, such as in the Raven Wing Command Squad, did not get the same treatment, so those ones were awkwardly not devastating. That has been updated so that now that they are. Tau have gotten some really big buffs as well. Their Retaliation Contra's +1 AP effect now triggers at 9 inches instead of 6 inches. This is the Battlesuit Focus detachment that gives you benefits for attacking your enemies that are close to you, and previously this would be triggered by using a 3-inch deep strike stratagem to deep strike 3 inches away from your target, and then gain all of the benefits of +1 strength and +1 AP. However, you can no longer 3-inch deep strike anywhere, so that +1 AP effect was just very difficult to trigger. Now you just have to be 9 inches away, which makes it much easier. In addition, the Ethereal datasheet has also gained For the Greater Good, the army special rule, which allows you to guide for other Tau units. In the past, the Ethereal has gotten the ability to attach drones, including things like marker drones, which would give him benefits when guiding, but he didn't actually have the ability to act as an observer. Now he does. And this is also important because Ethereals are often played as singletons just in the back of your army to generate command points for you. Also giving them the ability to guide for your other units makes them much more useful. This is a great quality of life change for Tau armies that are at greater quantities, including Ethereals, in their lineup. Custodians have seen a small retiming to the Veteran of the Cataphractoi enhancement in the Solar Spearhead detachment, an enhancement that allowed you to fall back and operate normally, and has been retimed to the command phase rather than the movement phase to make it a little bit more restrictive on its timing. Adeptus Mechanicus has gotten a change that we saw coming from a mile away. The Halo Screed, the new Grotsmas detachment, Halo Screed Battleclade, previously allowed you to target any unit in your army with the Halo Screed effects. which allowed you to supercharge big things like Canis Rex, the Imperial Knight character. You can no longer do that, however. Now, the Halo Screed Battleclade detachment rule requires that you target Adeptus Mechanicus units, which I think everybody expected. Chaos Knights also got a small change. Previously, their Iconoclast Fiefdom Grossmist detachment allowed you to affect and potentially sacrifice damned units, which unfortunately didn't specify whether they were your damned units or your opponent's damned models. This included things like Chaos Cultists and Accursed Cultists, and made it so that the mirror match was particularly toxic, so you could destroy your opponent's cultists. However, that has been changed so that these effects now target friendly damned models. Deathwatch got some bug fixing to their new datasheets, including things like pistols gaining the pistol keyword, which is always very important, and some mistaken stats improved as well. There also was a clarification that for a unit to gain the Mission Tactics detachment ability from the Black Spear Task Force detachment, they must have the Mission Tactics ability on their datasheet. This is a little idiosyncratic. I don't think I know of any other detachments that require that you have an additional ability that is keyed to only that detachment on your datasheet for it to work, but that does mean that you are highly incentivized to take more specifically Deathwatch units in your army. They also got an update to the available units for them. They are now no longer able to take Deathwatch kill teams out of the Agents of the Imperium Codex. However, they still can take Kill Team Cassius, the character version. Necrons were probably one of the biggest changes out of this update, including massive nerfs to their Star Shatter Arsenal Grotsmith detachment. Star Shatter Arsenal was very controversial for being incredibly statistically impressive. It was able to improve the offensive, defensive, and maneuver capacities of your army to staggering levels, and so a lot of players called it out as being overpowered. That has, however, been toned down. The timing of Demanding Leader, an enhancement that allows you to fall back and shoot, has been changed to Command Phase from Movement Phase, basically the same change that we saw with the Solar Spearhead's Veteran of the Cataphractoi. Their +1 to wound and -1 to wound stratagems, those being Merciless Reclamation and Unyielding Forms respectively, have had their CP cost doubled from 1 to 2 command points, and the reactive move from Reactive Reposition has also been changed to a D6 inches rather than a flat 6 in response to enemy shooting. This is probably going to bring this detachment much more in line with other Necron detachments. Detachments like Awakened Dynasty, Obeisance Phalanx, and Hypercrypt Legion are most likely going to see a lot more play in exchange for Star Shatter Arsenal thanks to these changes. Thousand Suns got a very minor clarification to the Empowered Manifestation enhancement inside their Hex Warp Thrall Band Grotsmith detachment. This extends the range of your psychic abilities when you're within your flow of magic, and that has been clarified to be an optional effect. You can choose not to add 6 inches to the range of your abilities if you don't want to. I'm sure that there is a reason that this is relevant, but I'm not 100% sure what it is yet. Orcs got a significant nerf to their Tank Busta datasheet, which is probably to be expected given that basically every Orc player windmill slammed 3 Tank Busta units into their army immediately after the datasheet was revealed. And that ended up last weekend with Orcs absolutely dominating the leaderboard, taking down the vast majority of competitive events over the last week or so. In response to this, tank buses have had their points value increased by 30 points in the Munitorum Field Manual up to 120. Probably still good enough to take 1 or 2 in your army, but I don't know if you're going to be slamming 3 of them in every list. And last, and certainly not least, we saw some day 1 changes to Astra Militarum. The Astra Militarum Codex is now releasing. However, as players have noticed, there were a lot of typos and bugs inside it, and a lot of those have been rectified. This includes changes to weapon ranges and equipment loadouts for a lot of models that bring them back in line to what their expected stats should be, and we saw the Munitorum Field Manual updated with their points. In terms of actual changes, the creeping barrage effect of the Artillery Regiment's detachment rule can now shake only up to its maximum units that are provided in the chart that the detachment gives you. This is one of the 3 effects that you can shoot onto your opponent's army at the start of a battle round when you're using Artillery Regiment from off-board artillery, the others being Ignore Cover or a Smoke effect. Creeping barrage gives you the chance of slowing down enemy units and previously worked on every single enemy unit that was outside 12 inches of your army. This could be particularly devastating on the first turn if you were to roll a bunch of 5-ups and shake a lot of their army. However, now if you reach the cap of units that can be affected thanks to the chart, which is typically 3 in a Strike Force game, no more units can be affected. This means that you always want to roll for the most important units first to give yourself the greatest chance of hitting those. So the sequence in which you roll for units is very important for this ability, but it does mean that you don't have the opportunity to spike really high on your 5-ups and absolutely devastate your opponent's ability to maneuver around the battlefield for a round. Last and definitely not least, we saw some changes to Tempestus Scions. The Tempestus command squad lost the regiment keyword, so once it's no longer attached to its Scion unit, it can't be affected by regiment things like infantry orders. However, generally speaking, you're just going to have Scions in your unit, so it won't matter that much. However, all Tempestus Scions, including those Tempestus command squads, gained their deep strike ability back. God help us all. In addition to already being high ballistic skill infantry, which is pretty exciting for Astra Militarum, especially with the ability to buff them up to hitting on 2s with the Take Aim order, Tempestus Scions gained full wound rerolls when targeting enemies on objectives in the new codex, which gives them the capacity to be devastatingly lethal. If they had to start at the table or begin in transports in order to deliver themselves to the fight, this would be fairly reasonable. However, being able to deep strike and set up anywhere on the table is terrifying. I imagine that this unit is going to be incredibly powerful as we are moving on into the future of the new Militarum Codex, but we'll just have to see. And with that, those are all of the changes with this little surprise updates. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought about them, and especially what you think about the massive nerfs to Star Shatter Arsenal. And with that, remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.